That was good. Nice to see everybody here, and we're going to get started. Geofarming is probably my favorite topic to talk about. As a salesperson, that worked for me very, very well. I started off in an area called Applewood Heights, and the neighborhood was mostly retired people whose kids were all moved out, and I was 20, and I was guided to go work in areas where there were older people because they would look at me as an industrious young person versus a punk who just finished high school. And so it worked out really, really well for me. And I've always promoted geographic farming, and one of our best farmers and long-term farmers, I don't mean to call you a farmer, but it's a nice title, because you reap what you sow.
Right.
And so, Jeff, you guys know Jeff Borg, of course, and Jeff has been the leading agent in Meadowvale Village for 25 years. Can you tell us how you landed in Meadowvale Village?
Like the long story? Or
Sure.
So we were living in Brampton. Violet and I had been married for a year or two. We sold a condo, and we thought we'd move back to my mom and dad's house, which was a disaster on its own, but we went there anyways. And we were looking for a place to live. So we were looking pretty much everywhere. Violet got a job at Loblaws and on surveyors. Ryan was a year and 9 months. So it was a Saturday. She just threw him in the car, track pants, hair in a ponytail, drove to Loblaws just to see a route to get there and to get back to my mom and dad's house, and stumbled across that neighborhood.
Okay.
And she liked it a lot. And when she went into the sales center, they treated her with respect. She said I looked like just track pants, hair in a ponytail, whatever. Loved it, called me. I was playing golf with my brother-in-law at the time, and went there that night and bought a house. And it was going to close 8 or 9 months later, and then it was delayed for another 8 or 9 months. So the disaster part at my mom and dad's house was like through the roof, because it was very difficult to live with my dad, who was European and set in his ways. I said to V when we were buying it, because we sold a condo for $130,000, we're buying a house for $360,000, and I said, okay, I'll buy it as long as you don't tell me every night when I come home, hey, how was today? Did you sell something? Did you sell something? Did you sell something? Because that would be too much pressure. And she agreed, and that's kind of how we found that area.
Wow. So tell me about farming in the area. How did you get started, and what was your first step? Like how, if either what was yours or how would you do it today if it would be different?
So I'll go a little further back. So when I was with another office, I started farming in an area where I grew up at Jane and Shepherd, because the office I was with was at Wilson and Dufferin. And I did this pumpkin event there. It was a little bit different than the one we ended up doing in the village, but it was something with the community. The office that I was with was Home Life, and they had that Jerome sort of mystical character, and so I did a lot of stuff with the schools. It was very soft, very easy. Come in, give some coloring books, just meet people. You're not meeting the parents, but they're maybe going home and saying, oh, this person came to the school and such, and so in that sense it was good. So we would do that. We weren't really good at it. We were just doing stuff, and we'd send stuff out in the mail. And then we had this idea to do, Treb was doing a food drive. And I thought, hey, this is a good idea. I should try and do a food drive in this neighborhood. So we sent out some flyers that we would pick up some food. And then I was trying to get corporates, like grocery stores, to give me some food, because I could get lots of food and with less effort. Loblaws gave me a bunch of like those brown beer cases to put the food in. Struck out at all the grocery stores. Like I went to all the grocery stores. They all said, no, sorry, we do something else, and whatever. And then I finally got one. And then I thought, you know what, I'm going to go back to all those grocery stores and say, hey, by the way, I just want to know if you want to reconsider. So-and-so has just gave us a whole bunch of dented cans and all this stuff, and we're going to put out a flyer and make some banners, and I think it'd be a great idea. I think you should reconsider, because it's in your area that you have your customers. And then they all said, yeah, you know what, now that you're right, I think we could do something for you. So then I got all this food from all these grocery stores, and then collected more food from the neighbors. I involved the neighbors in helping us collect it. That year we collected more food. I collected more food with the help of everybody than the Toronto Real Estate Board. So we went to Nellie's house for battered women and children, Covenant House, and Central Neighborhood, and then delivered all the food, and that's kind of how it started there. Moving to the village, the builder we bought from had the house on the corner, and he had a bunch of houses left. Developed a pretty good relationship with them. He wanted to do some sort of community event, like that pumpkin event that I eventually took over. So we kind of did it together. And then he was done with it because he had sold all the houses. He gave us the last 53, so we got those, sold all those. They hired Violet, she worked in the sales center. So it kind of morphed, and then I just took the pumpkin event over. Never had a fair, but you ask empowering questions like, what would you have to do if you're doing a fair? And then you got all these empowering answers, and it just sort of grew. Like, we made lots of mistakes. And we did it for 21 years, and it just grew and it grew and it grew. Initially we were doing it obviously for work, but there was a side thing with it too as well, because I wanted to teach my kids that somebody who has no experience in something, if they asked the right questions, could take it on. So I wanted them to understand that you could do stuff if you just tried, as opposed to saying, hey, do you want to do a fair? Yeah, I don't know how to do a fair. If I only know how to do, and you ask all the wrong questions, and then you just convince yourself not to do it. We didn't do that. And I wouldn't do that, and that's how we did it. And then it took on a life of its own. So we stopped doing it during the pandemic because we couldn't do it. Violet and I donated the money that we raised the years previous just from our own money for I think 2 years or 3 years. It was a great way to not do it because it sort of ran its course, and it was a lot of work, and the demographics were changing, and it was well received, but it wasn't. I think sometimes you have to leave, and then we just do something else. But we're remembered for it, so I don't think it's hurt us.
Now, just to give you some perspective, this was like going to a circus. They had tattoo artists, not real tattoos, for the kids. They had pumpkins everywhere. Yep. They had horse-drawn wagon rides all over the neighborhood. Yep. It was absolutely
huge,
amazing.
We had 1,500 families. We had like canopies, and I would involve people in the neighborhood who had businesses. Hey, can I bring my stuff there? And if it meshed with what we were doing, I would say yes. If it was a little bit, we would say no, you can't. But yeah, it took on a life of its own. But actually, me and Violet really enjoyed it. Jade enjoyed it. Justin played music there. Ryan, everybody helped. There was a lot of anxiety about a month before because you're always worried about the weather and are people going to come, and I was kidding with her. We were away somewhere, I think in Newfoundland in August. I'm like, hey, V, guess what? She's like, what? I said, if we're still doing the pumpkin event, it would be in 6 weeks. She goes, well, I won't say what she said, but she said, don't say that, because it was nice to do it, nice not doing it.
No, but your name became meaningful in the neighborhood.
Yes.
through those events, which is a bigger part. I know, Jeff said to me something when we were chatting, and we both agreed, that he'd rather do things where people come to you to talk to you as opposed to doing it the other way.
Right.
And everyone's different.
Right.
So you've done things to attract people to reach out to you.
Yes.
What would be some other things that you've done?
So we sponsor sporting events. We sponsored someone last year that lives in the area. I think it was a lacrosse team they were going to play somewhere in Europe, and he asked if I could sponsor him. It sort of meshed well with what we do. And school events we would do. We would do anything really to have people come out. And it was subtle because the pumpkin event there may be a scratch pad, but there was no free home evaluation. People would come up to me. I would greet everybody at the entrance of this pumpkin patch because they would go through, pick a pumpkin. We'd add T-shirts and loot bags and stuff for the kids, and then we'd ask for a donation. So they'd come up and say, hey, I'm thinking of selling my house. And I'm like, that's fantastic. I said, but for today, well, let's do this. Like, I'd love to help you sell your house. That's what I do for a living. It pays for this event. But I wouldn't even give them my card. I'd say, just call me. I know who you are. You know who I am. I think that subtle approach works well for me. It may work well for everybody. I don't believe in going to people in a grocery store in a line and saying, hey, wow, those are nice peaches. Oh, by the way, I sell real estate, Because I would walk 3 feet and drop the person's card. It would bother me. But it's just it's not real. So I would be, I'm more subtle. I think subtle is probably, I've never door knocked. Even in that area, I just don't feel comfortable doing it. I've never knocked on one person's door. Now I could, because everybody knows me there, but A, I don't want to get chased by a dog, because I've been bitten a few times, and B, I think it's just something that I'm really uncomfortable with, so I wouldn't do it.
So tell us about marketing in the area.
So marketing, so we do a lot. I would say, I would give all the credit to my wife, because she's the one who takes care of all that, but we come up with ideas. Some of mine are good, some of them are not, some of hers are good, most of hers are good. But we put things out every few weeks. So the area has, I think, 5,800 houses. We do Old English Lane as well, but we constantly put stuff out, like postcards, newsletters, anything and it has to be branded. It has to be the same. So it's just got to be synonymous with and our brand has evolved over the years, of course, from, something 30 years ago to something today. But I always equate it to gardening. Like if you ran out to your garden and you're thinking, I'm going to grow tomatoes this year, and you've got soil and read how to do it and put the seeds down and put your sticks in and put some water on it and went inside, and tomorrow morning you woke up and you ran outside and you're like, oh, fuck, there's no tomatoes. The same thing with real estate. You just got to nurture it and just continue to do it. Eventually, after 3 or 4 years, they kind of come up on their own. You're still doing stuff and you're still augmenting it and sending them some stuff out, but now they're coming up. It's less work to do. I was away for January. We came back in 3 days. I had 3 listings. We just had all the stuff lined up, and Jay was helping, of course, and my son Justin joined, so he was helping. But these are things that I did 30 years ago, and 25 years ago, and 20 years ago, and 15 years ago. But if you continually do it, it sort of comes to you, right? You don't know when someone's going to call you and say, hey, by the way. I got a guy call me yesterday, says, hey, I'm Joseph Bartone. I know who you are. I'm a real estate agent. I've been doing it for 2 years. My parents want to sell their house in Levi Creek, and the broker I'm working with said, if you want to get someone to do it, call Jeff. He knows the area. He'll get your parents the most amount of money. We're going to sell them a condo, so we'll take care of that. I don't need a referral fee. I just want to know if you can meet it with my parents. And I said, yeah, sure, no problem. So called his parents. Oddly enough, the person I sold the house in November for, homicide guy, owned the goalie school, and his son, this agent, works for him. So it's like this big circle. So they're all connected. And then I called this guy, Mo. He's a really great guy. The parents are decent, and I'm meeting with them tonight. And they're already sort of sold on me. So where did that come from? It came from all the other stuff, right? It just came from, doing something, and 6 months goes by, a year goes by, you're still doing it, and now you're starting to get a few things. And then eventually, if you continue to do it, you become the person synonymous with the neighborhood. And that's what we've done.
One of the challenges I've had over the years with marketing companies is they want to sell their products, right? Whether they're geo-farming products or database products. And I've always pushed them to say, I really wish you wouldn't sell our agents a program that's only a 1-year program. Because what happens is, or a 2-year program, maybe you should do a 3-year, solid marketing program, because it's going to take that long for it to happen. Mm-hmm. So when they sign up, and there's, you guys know the companies, Mission Response, Morris Marketing, things like that. At the end of a year, if you haven't had the results, and you've put out the money, it's almost guaranteed that you're going to pull back and then start something completely different again, and you're starting again. And so if you were giving advice to people who are not farming right now, and they wanted to start, how would you approach it? Or how would you suggest they approach it?
So it's a good question. I would pick an area that you have some connection to, whether you live there, a church, your kids go to school there, or you're familiar with it, and then pick an amount of houses. Well, and I would also pick, let's say, an area where you see some turnover, right? There's some semis, there's some towns, there's, and I wouldn't be bothered by, there's a guy there that's been there forever. I mean, there's enough business for everybody, right? I mean, maybe when I go up on listing appointments and they say, I'm thinking of either you or that person or this person, I'm like, we're all different, right? I can't speak for them, I can only speak for me. So I wouldn't be bothered by that part of it, so I'd pick an area with those things in mind, and then I would say to yourself that it's going to take a couple of years. Of course you can't go a couple of years with no business. You may get business elsewhere, like from family, from friends, from something else, but I would work that area, and I would not give up, because you don't know what's behind the next door. Sometimes we'll be, when we were younger and new at this, you get to a point where you have a couple of months where nothing's going on. You're like, holy Christ, this is not good. I got to make my mortgage payment and all this stuff. And then someone calls you. Now, they were going to call you because they were probably talking about calling you a week ago, but I didn't know that. So I always say, don't give up. Unless you're giving up to leave the industry, I wouldn't give up. I would just be diligent and just know that it works, because it works. I'm nobody different than you and you and you, other than we, did it and consistently did it and found out what worked for me. So door knocking, no, I wouldn't do it. Soft stuff, flyers, we do geo-farming even on Facebook if we want to just talk to that neighborhood. We also do, when I say we, Violet does that, but collectively as a team, we do it, right? I've been doing that there for 25 years, and we get lots of business because of it.
Can I just say something?
Yeah.
So we send out a monthly newsletter, and guaranteed every time we send out that monthly newsletter, we get 2 or 3 calls. A few days later, I'm saying, that's the newsletter. Because, you send out stuff all the time, right? I hope you don't mind.
No, good.
You send out stuff all the time. Nobody's calling me, what a waste of money, because it's not cheap, especially print and the mail now is expensive. And even my younger kids, say, wow, that's so archaic. But it's not. You need both. But a lot of times paper ads on Facebook, it's all spam that's liking it. It's all crap. It really is. And I'm old, I don't know the whole social media, but I know that the likes I'm getting, that I check the profiles, that there's nobody, you know what I mean? But as soon as we keep sending it out, every month we send a newsletter, and we have listings, we'll send it just listed. Even in between, you'll send something that's just, doesn't have to be just listed or anything. But when we do send out something, we get a phone call. Just because people are familiar with seeing it, they don't even realize that they're looking at, that they're seeing it.
Right.
People say, oh my God, they're just throwing the garbage. I said, yes, but before they throw out the garbage, they're looking at it. And they see your face, they see your information. I always put a recipe. You know how many people have said, oh, I tried the recipe to him, that's so good, your wife must have did that. And I'm like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, true. That's a true story. Yeah.
They are looking at it, even though the phone's not ringing.
Yeah.
But the more you have to send it out, because then when they are, because not everybody's thinking of selling real estate every day.
No.
But when they do, they know that they've seen this face over and over and over, and I think that's why you can't stop print.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's my
If you've seen a newsletter of ours that had a recipe for grilled cheese and soup from Costco and a bottle of wine, yeah. Melt the butter a little bit, turn on the pan, and don't wreck it like you did in Newfoundland and in Burlington. But that would be my recipe. But yeah, people do call me about these recipes.
And everybody remembers the pumpkin fair. Everybody.
Yes.
The fair was huge.
Yeah, yeah.
Everybody knows. Like, we've sold houses to kids that came to the fair. They said, we used to come to your fair, and they call them.
Yeah. We went to their wedding.
Yeah, we went to weddings, everything.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, there's something that they're not telling you about is they also raise proceeds that gets donated to Credit Valley Hospital.
Right, yes.
And so everything's got that other side to it.
Yes.
And you guys really follow that you get by giving.
Yeah, you have to just, I can only speak for myself, but I run everything with don't lie, don't steal, don't cheat. Just be fair to everybody. Mm-hmm. Right? That's just, it's easy to have integrity when it doesn't matter. It's difficult to have it when it really matters, right? When you need something, I'll tell you a story. When we, for the first 15 years or so, we worked very hard. Certainly weren't as organized, I would say. And 3 kids, a mortgage. It was hard. I mean, people say, "Oh, you're lucky, Jeff." I'm like, I was less than broke for a lot of the first 15 years of my life, our life. Had a listing right across the street from my house. This guy, Bob Allen, I sold him something, listed his house. Chris Nye from, I forget where he's from, Red Home Realty, I'll say. He shows it. There's no buyer's agency agreement. It's whoever brings you the offer. There was no rules then. You could just, whatever. So I'm working from home. Bob Allen comes across the street. Bob answers the door. "Hey, Jeff, Bob wants to talk to you." I said, hey. He goes, "Hey, Jeff, we just had a showing." I said, "Yeah, I know. I think I had a pager." I said, yeah, I know. I seen that. Chris and I showed it. He goes, "Yeah, the buyers came back and they'd like to buy the house." I said, "Okay. They'd like to buy it with you, though." I said, "Bob, I'm not comfortable doing that, right? Let me get a hold of Chris." Now, we really, really could have used the money. I'm not kidding you. The extra $10,000 or $15,000 would have been a big friggin' deal. But I didn't want to see Chris Nye at Loblaws and have him say to me, "Jeff, fuck, why'd you do that? Why would you do that to me? I needed the money too." I called him. I said, "Hey, Chris, I showed the house on Historic Trail. How'd it go?" He said, "Oh, it went fantastic. I think they really like it." I said, "No, they love it a lot. They've come back and tried to buy it through me and the vendor, and I'm not comfortable doing that. So get a hold of them and get us an offer and let's do a deal." He said, "Okay." I said, "No, look, I'll never know. But I'm going to ask you, when the situation comes to you, pay it forward. I won't know, I'll never know. I don't know that, but I said, just because I think it's karma. It's it's that energy. You can't do that. I needed the money. I would never do it." So 2 things. We did the deal. Those people were never going to sell a house with me, ever, because they hated me because I didn't want to be part of their thing. So lost the money there, lost the next sale. They sold. They were there for 4 or 5 years. I didn't get the listing. He didn't get the listing. But it felt okay. So, I think we operate that way. I've only ever operated that way. You can't have integrity when it's convenient. You have to, if you live that way, I think you attract it, right? I think everything, there's no chaos. Everything's synchronized. I think if you operate that way, I think those are the people you attract in your business. If you don't operate that way, sometimes I'll get clients, I'm like, "What the fuck? Why did I get these clients?" I'm like, what's my lesson? I'm like, "Oh yeah," and I just give them away now. I don't even want them because they're just too much trouble. It's got nothing to do with farming, but that was farming because I got a listing in that area. I think if you operate that way, and I'm assuming everybody does. I'm not saying that you don't do that. I'm saying, but just remember, I think that's a big part of being successul.
That's awesome. Jeff and I had a lot of preparation for this sit down. He talked me through the car wash, and we were just saying so what are we going to talk about? And so one of the things we talked about was your family business is a great success story.
Yeah.
What are couple of things that have happened to you that you don't really talk about because it didn't go so well, and maybe it was funny or maybe it was
so lots of mistakes.
The wrong turn.
Lots of mistakes. First open house, Nancy Smart with New Era Real Estate in Rexdale. Went there, not my listing, literally my first open house. photographs, the glue stick, that's how old it was. And I'm there, no lockbox. The side door, you just push the button, the door locks behind you. Open house went okay, I guess. Doing all my stuff, got all my things, got my, all the stuff, locked the door. The keys are in the car. My keys are in the house for my car. I can't get in. Don't have a cell phone because I didn't have a cell phone. I had to walk to a payphone about a kilometer away, ask my dad to come pick me up, who has no idea to get anywhere. I said, Dad, I'm in Rexdale. You just go Shepherd to Western Road, make a right. Before you get to that bridge, you make another right. That's Albion Road. And he's like, so where do I go on Shepherd? I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm going to be here all day, right? I just and I couldn't, I couldn't call anybody because I didn't have a phone. And I didn't want to tell the vendors that, I locked my keys in your house. And I had to come back because I had to get my keys at some point. So he eventually found me. We got all the signs. Pretty embarrassing. Got a referral once in another area. Drove up there, knocked on the door. I'm like, Diane? And she goes, no. I'm like, okay. She said, are you meeting with Diane? I said, yeah, I'm meeting Diane and Steve. Oh, yeah. They live around the corner. You're on the wrong street. I'll call them and tell them you're on your way. I'm like, okay, I appreciate that. I appreciate you letting them know that I actually came to the wrong house. That's nice. So many things. You kind of roll with it. I laugh. I mean, they don't upset me. They look back at them and, they're stupid and funny, but, what do you do?
So I have two for you. I didn't tell you these ones.
Okay.
So one was I was doing an open house, and the seller said, whatever you do, we have this cat. This cat's afraid of everything. Please do not let the cat out. Whatever you do, don't let the cat out. It's usually in the basement. And so I do this open house, and I'm sitting in the kitchen, and I'm looking out the back, daydreaming kind of thing, and I see this cat going like this. And I'm like, oh no, I'm in big trouble. Because I was, people had come on, they walked outside, this and that. And so anyway, I let the cat in, finished the open house, went home, and I got paged. Because we were all carrying pages at that time. Yeah. Called the seller back, and he says, who the let this cat into my house? He says, my cat's freaking out. And I'm like, oh no. Yeah. And so that was pretty embarrassing.
Oh yeah, that's hilarious.
Embarrassing. Yeah. I'll give you the most embarrassing one. Early in my career, I partnered up with a friend of mine, and we decided we were going to pick a farm area together outside of my area, and it was Burnhamthorpe and Winston Churchill. Okay. That area. And so we go to Gary Rourke and had a photo done, and we're two buddies, and we're like this, and we start all this marketing, and we don't get a call. Months and months and months. Finally, we get a call from this woman. I think it was on Galbraith. And so we go in there, and we're talking to her about selling her house, and she says, it's so impressive that the two of you are so open with how you're doing. And so we're just like, wow. Yeah. And so we go ahead and we list the property, and we didn't pay any attention to it. And she said it later again. She says, how long have you two been together? And so our photo were two guys like this. And the whole neighborhood thought we were a couple, so we immediately just stopped marketing. Yeah.
Went downtown.
We broke up.
Yeah, changed areas.
Oh,
went downtown.
Horrible. It was horrible. We spent thousands trying to get in the door in suburban Mississauga. Yeah. It's not a good idea.
Yeah. So getting back to the geofarming, I think you pick an area, you pick an amount of houses that you can afford to do for at least 1 year. I would say longer than a year. I would say just pick it and just do it, and don't stop doing it, and just and make sure you're sending out really sophisticated stuff, really good quality cardstock and pictures and anything that you do. It cannot be something that isn't reflective of who you are or who you want to portray or become. So I'm forever picking stuff up anywhere. I'm like, wow, this is good. I got to show this to Violet. I like this. And I think if you do that, I think it becomes synonymous with who you are. It's like everybody gets that flyer, it's on a piece of paper, I got a buyer for your house and whatever, and it's this garbage. You're never going to look at it. We're not going to call. But then you get something from a team or from a successful agent who happens to be living in your neighborhood, and you're like, okay, I like this. So I like it. I mean, majority of other people will like it because it's got some really good features to it. And so we're always doing that. The other thing I think is really important is things that have time, like that last. So when we were in the village, we branded on all our marketing, that Meadowvale Village, their like sign that said, first historical village since 1830, or in 1836. So I went and made up mouse pads. I mean, couldn't afford them, but we did it anyways, and we made up thousands of them, and we delivered them in the mail. I see them today. I don't have one. I would like to scoff one at someone's house, but I see them today, and so it's got good shelf life. It stays there. I think if you do those types of things, they last for a long time. They're like, they're timeless. So I always try to figure out things that I can either use as a marketing piece that will stay somewhere, or if you're giving gifts to clients that stay somewhere, that while you're not there and they have friends over, there's a good possibility that they're going to talk about you based on something you gave. An example, this guy Carl Durbin lived at 17 Duckworth in Scarborough. My sister worked with him at Ward Air. Older guy, he's probably passed away. He's for sure passed away. But he was an artist. He just made stuff out of everything, like pieces of bark, and like he was just a wonderful person, like lovely. And I met him, and I had this idea that when I sold someone a house, I would take a photograph of the house, get it developed, bring it to him, and he would draw it, whether it be color or black and white. And then I would give him the picture, he would show me where he's going to draw it, I would sign it. He would sign it too, I would just sign it anyways. And then he would do it, frame it, or he would do it, I would take it, go to World of Picture Frames at Dufford and Cartwright, and they would frame it, and then I would bring it to the person, and people were blown away. Like, oh my God, that's our house, that's the house. Oh, that's our dog. That's our this, that's our that, and then it'd be in the house. So that when someone comes over, they're going to go, where'd you get that? Oh, wow, funny story. And they'll talk about me for a little bit. Now, do I get business from it? I don't know. It's just good energy. But if you bought them a dishwasher, no one's going to say, wow, Mila, do you have the money for that? Yeah, I bought it. But if you have something that's kind of unique that people could talk about, so now we do these lovely charcuterie boards with like sort of an enamel that you can put in the board. So we brand the back of it small, and we have their names put on it. Depending on the client, depending on the size, but people love these things, and that they're going to be talking about you somewhere when their friends come over and go, wow, that's a nice charcuterie board, that's a nice picture, that's a nice this, that's a nice that. I think that's important. I think if you give that some thought, and a nice gift, I think goes a long way. And we have like burlap bags that we put them in, and we'll bring them some champagne or and then they invite us over, me and Violet, for like wine and cheese. So you've developed this like a full circle. So now there are going to be a good sphere of referrals. So I think that's also equally important. And, you could tie that into your farm area for getting some business, because then you could use that to get more business, right? So now you're doing other things. We do birthday cards and CMAs once a year, and like we try to touch them as many times as we can, but very subtle. I don't go through my list and call people and say, hey, how's it going? I haven't talked for a little while. What I do is I use this listed app that I'm surprised everybody here is not using it. I'm surprised that they're not. It's not that expensive. It's got so many great features. But when you sign people up, you can see them looking at stuff. So if Alex, a client of mine, I haven't dealt with him for about a year, he's not looking, he wasn't looking, he gave up looking, I may get back at it. Now all of a sudden I see him looking at stuff, and I haven't talked to him for a while. I'll talk to him. I'll just send him an email. I'll send him a text message. Hey, how's it going? How's Christmas? How's New Year's? Hey, is real estate, on your radar for 2024? Because I seen this house on so-and-so street that could work for you and your wife. He quickly messages me back. Yes or no? Hey, Jeff, I haven't heard from you for a long time either. Maybe, I'm not sure, but yeah, that house is nice. I was looking at that. Well, I know he's looking at that because I could see him looking at it. But it gives you a reason to call him like back, and it's not random. It's not like, I have nothing to say to him, because then it becomes a little bit more uncomfortable. So I think this app, I would say everybody should look at it. And that, it's not my app, it's just an app we use, but it's got great features. They can see listed. Yeah, it's wonderful. Like I've been using it for 4 years. I just signed up Jade and Justin. Because you can farm off of it. You can do radius searches off it. You give it to your client whenever. Yeah, all that. You can do all that. And when they want to see something, they can just send it back to you. You can do alerts. You can do a radius search. There's so many I don't know all the features. I just use it for what I do, and now Justin knows all the features, and Jade. But I would say look into it. I'm not going to tell you to buy it, but I think there's something that I think everybody should be using.
We brought the developer of it is a lady by the name of Catherine McIntosh.
Lovely.
And we were one of the early adopters when it was called Real Estate Love.
Right. .love.
Right. And she's developed it and made it an amazing product.
Unbelievable.
We're trying to book her for a date right now.
Yeah.
To come in and present. I think you'll be blown away by it.
Blown away. I had her at my house a few weeks ago to show us all the features that I didn't know, and I wanted Justin and Jay to hear it because they would grasp it more than I would grasp it. And then a month before that, she wanted to do a little podcast. So she came to my house, had cameras and all the things set up. It was really nice. We talked for 2.5 hours. And she's just a lovely person. I think the app is something that, she could explain it better than I could explain it, of course, because it's her app. It's something that I think everybody should at least consider. I think it's the way of the future. You can work with way more people. They have access to past solds and pictures, so they can look at stuff, and if they see something anywhere they are, like across Canada, just hit go find me. It finds out where you are, and it just shows you all the stuff that's available. So, and I think if you talk to your clients and say, I think knowledge is power, I think sharing everything, I think you having as much information as I have is refreshing for them, because everybody thinks that we want to just hoard everything, and we don't want you to know something, so you won't call it because we want you to call us. This way here, it's kind of the reverse. You've just said, I think this is a great idea. I think you should have all this information. I said, so if you see the price is this, and you looked at, that was way less than, click on it. Oh yeah, they've gutted it. They've changed the whole house, or they've done this, or it's been terminated, or whatever. I do tons of business with this app, and it's simple. They just hit share. They'll send me, hey Jeff, we like this one. I'm like, yeah, great. I just go either through there onto Broker Bay, or just right to Broker Bay and just make an appointment. I don't even go on Treb. You don't even have to.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool app. If she comes in, I hope everybody comes and listens to her talk.
There's a conference called Inman. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, and they have one in Vegas and one in New York, and it's a lot of technology that's presented there. And she was a keynote there this year in New York, and I'm sorry I missed her because it's she really got a lot of attention.
She lives in Liberty Village. I live in Burlington. She took to go to my house and rode her bicycle with a basket on the front. And it was nice out, but it was I'm like, oh my God, like Mary Poppins. Yeah, it was
with a brain this big.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I know. She's we call it big brain.
Yeah. So I know we've been sort of going everywhere. Geofarming, pick an amount of houses that you're comfortable with, that you can fund, and then you can grow it. Like you can just and I would say don't get discouraged. Do something decent. Give it some real thought, as a brand, because you want people just to even if they don't look at it, because a lot of them they'll glance at it and throw it away, or they may see something about it and they look at it for a minute, but subconsciously they're looking at it. So they see it. Oh, it's Jeff again. Yeah, it's Jeff again. Now the Borg team, they did something. Oh yeah, great. He sold 4 houses. Oh, I see his boards everywhere. So it's accumulative. You become the person to call. Now I don't get all the listings. But I'm in there getting, like, it's on me to try and get the listing, or Jade, or, you know, Justin, or the three of us together. And then you have to work on the other part of it, which is dialogue, which is scripts, which is being comfortable, being genuine, being yourself, being, you know, like I would say, doing this for 36 years, the two things that, like, I absolutely love, like maybe three, but top two, I like transforming houses. So I go to someone's house, needs a bit of work, you know, whatever. We have a team, that's kind of our thing, and we can turn it around in 10 days. Now, I'm not doing the work myself personally, but I have a team that will do it. We have an arrangement with the vendor. So I love that. And I love working with seniors, because I know that no one's going to do any harm to them, because this is a business where people, you know, don't give a fuck sometimes, right? They're just like, they're in it for themselves, and it's very short-lived, right? So I'll get an appointment, V will say, how did the appointment go? And I'll say, I'm so happy that these people found me, because I'll make sure that they're treated with the dignity and respect that my parents would have wanted to have been treated with. And so then you attract those people. And then sometimes I get Google reviews that'll make you cry. Like, you know, I'll read this Google review, I'm like, oh my God, like, it's just, you know, you changed our whole retirement, and we're so happy, and all this stuff. And I'm like, and so I think if you vibrate in that, like, you know, energy, and you attract those people, then it becomes easier, right? Then you're not so jaded, you're not so whatever. I find that for us, this always works for us. I mean, it's not geofarming, but I think you could tie everything into it, right? Because then you have a purpose, and the way you.
It kind of is a part of geofarming, if you don't mind me saying.
Go ahead. You're the only person here I'm not going to say, don't say that.
The newsletters, we also do a lot of before and afters when we transform the home, and they're all going to our farming area. So people see what we're doing, and that also encourages them to pick up the phone and call, right? Because they say, oh my God, my house needs so much work, it looks terrible, but then we post the terrible photos and then the after photos after we do what we do, and that also gets people interested from the phone. And again, that's in our farm area, in our newsletter.
Instagram. It's on Instagram.
Yeah.
It gets a lot of play. So I think all those things.
Yeah.
Is there a frequency that you find is ideal for how often you send out the mailers?
We do something like every 2 weeks at least. So we do newsletters probably 10 months of the year. Like, there's months where, like, I think August we don't do one, or December. There's, like, we're not just going to spend $1,500 to spend $1,500 to do it. I mean, we just right. So there you go, January.
Everybody's like just getting over Christmas.
Right. But if we get listings, a bunch of listings, like we have 7 new listings coming out, and 5 of them are in the area that we farm, they're all going to get something. Because you want to overwhelm them, right? You want to say, like, you know, you want to, like, just listed, you know, on this street, then just listed, then just listed.
Are you doing one for each?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. One for each. For sure, one for each.
Like each listing will get sent out separately to the whole farm?
Absolutely.
Oh, cool.
For just listed, because I'm so ready to hear all that, but we don't necessarily do, because that 5,800, we just pick the actual streets that house is on. So it might be 2,500. So it might not be the whole 5,800, because that is very expensive.
Right.
We just make sure it goes to the area that has that house in it.
Right.
Because in this area, obviously, we can't post to have different walks. And I just break down the walks, because I'm the one doing it.
Right.
So I just break down the walks too. So it's not going to cost you that much every time.
Okay.
Because we just focus on their houses.
Got it.
So I'd say ideally twice a month, if you can.
To the whole farm?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you can. If not, at least once. Just to start.
Sure.
And then, but then again, pick a number that you're comfortable with. Because
You got to get an extra chair.
Ready?
Get an extra chair. This is good.
That's really good.
That's very good.
And then you can break out from that area.
Okay.
Once, yeah. So,
No, it's good.
Yeah, thank you.
All good.
So we're running down the clock. I just wanted to. Jeff and I have talked about farming many times, and one of the things I'd like to hit home and then give you the last word.
Sure.
would be immersion is probably the key word. Is you should do stuff in the neighborhood. You should shop in the neighborhood. And I don't mean stand in the grocery line and saying, hey, here's my card.
Yeah, don't do that.
But if you're doing something, why not do it in the area where the people who live there are doing those same things? And that is, it's almost like another media impression every time you do it. And I know a lot of you maybe in this room might think, well, geez, that's a lot of paper. Why are we still doing that? If you look at it just like a media impression, it is. And even if they go to their blue box, not their blue box, yeah, sort of, they go to their mailbox, then the blue box, and they go, oh, them again. And then they see another one next week. That's doing, it's actually a tactile media impression, which is pretty powerful. So I would suggest if you're going to get into geofarming or you're going to increase your exposure in geofarming, think like, if you're coming to the office, before you go to the office, drive through the farm area. You don't know what you're going to bump into. You don't know what you're going to see. You could see someone's for sale by owner sign. You could see someone's house burned down. You could see anything that's going on in the neighborhood and people will notice that you're there. It's really quite interesting. Don't worry about being seen and not doing anything. Go inspect the inventory. If someone else has a listing, you should be the first person in there and leave your card and let everyone, the neighbors will see that you were there looking at it. So immersion would be my number one message today.
You can't be a silent agent. You can't be a secret agent. They got to be out front and center and do what is comfortable. So let's say you I don't mind door knocking. Well, then door knock. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think it's a really good thing to do. I just don't feel comfortable doing it. So I won't do it. But I used to chase expireds. When I had no money, I would just only ever call expireds. I would call expireds all the time. People would swear at me, whatever. I just call them back. Hey, sorry, is that your phone or my phone? We got cut off because I know it was. You know what I mean? Because I don't care. What do I care? I'm not gonna I just would call, and I would get, I got so many listings. Now lots of them were shit, 100%. But I had nothing else to do. I had no money, living at my parents' house. I just wanted to do stuff. I wanted to have open houses. I just wanted to talk to people. So I knew going into it that most of these listings were garbage. But I didn't know what to do anyways, so I just figured, I'll try this. This doesn't cost any money. And I made a living from it. I got listings that were terrible and met people that thought they were terrible, and then maybe you develop some sort of relationship with that person at the open house or a sign call or whatever. It's just to do something. I think just, and I think be kind to people. Always be kind, right? Between kind and right, always pick kind. No one cares if you're right? Just always go with kind. I tell people all the time when look, if you feel the way I feel, then work with me. But if I leave and you think, I don't know about that Jeff guy, then don't work with me. I only want to work with people who want to work with me. I won't let you down. I won't leave anyone on the table. I'm everything you want me to be, but if there's something about me that you're just not comfortable with, then I'm okay with it. Because you leave them thinking, hey, he wasn't begging us for the listing either. He's just saying, if you don't feel comfortable, he's giving us an out. They don't take it most of the time. They just think, wow, I felt really comfortable. I just liked this guy. There's something about him I liked. I trusted him. And that's the whole thing, right? They have to trust you, right? Because you can trick how they think. You can't trick how they feel. How they feel is different than how they think. So I think I play to that, right? It's just like when you go to buy something, you may go back to the same person over and over again. You could buy the same product somewhere else, but why do you go there? Because he knows your name, he knows your kids, he remembers the last time you were there. He has you feel a connection with him. He may say, those shoes, I don't know, there's another pair these ones are on special. Look at these ones, and you're you have this connection, so you want to keep going back to the same person. And the same thing here, you want to have that connection with people, so they just trust you, and that's what you want. Because everywhere I go, other than where I'm doing my job, I'm also a consumer. So why do I go to the same people to get a jacket or a car or something, or the people I use to transform houses? I use the same people all the time. Why? They're reliable. I can trust them. They're going to show up when I ask them to. They're not going to be, I'm not going to get a call from the client and say, geez, that Dave guy, the electrician, I think he was drinking. They're not those kinds of people. So they're people because they're representing me. And so I think everything's based on trust and on how you like approach people and how you think about people. And I think it makes it so much easier. I think if you're doing all the other things that we just described, but you come at it from that energy, I think it makes this job I think simple. It doesn't happen immediately. It doesn't happen right away. There's, we all have those clients and people complain about stuff, but you can put it into perspective. You can go, yeah, you know what? It's not me. It's them. I don't have to win. I'm not going to blame them. I'm not going to get angry with them. I'm just going to explain to them something and then let it go.
It amazes me. It amazes me that some of the most successful people are the ones that share the most. And I remember, it may have been you, who said, nobody's going to be me, so I'm just sharing information. And
right.
Other people can just decide either to act on it or not, but most won't. And most will do it differently or their way.
Yeah.
And so you're going to attract different people than you do. And I think it's just wonderful that you guys are sharing and telling everybody what you do and your secret sauce is. And you do such a great job in the marketplace. I just want to thank you for being here, guys.
So one thing. So my third thing, when I said there's three things, my third thing is working with Justin and Jade. Jade for a lot longer because she's been with me for a lot longer, but like Justin now, because he's like how Jade was 7 or 8 years ago. He's so eager. He's so into it. He and same with Jade. Like I've never once asked her to do something where she said no. Not one time. Maybe I can't do it this minute, but I've never said something where she said no, I'm not doing that. I don't want to do that. Get someone else to do that. Same with Justin. So that also is. I said one of the things I think I really like is getting them up to speed. So we've developed and we've created this really cool business model, and we want to hand it over to them. Where I work less, me and Violet can just travel. We like to travel. We don't need as much money. I just like to see them grow it, because then that in itself would be also very gratifying for me and Violet, because then we would know that Jade's well taken care of as far as an income and a career. Justin's very young and he's very eager, and so I would say it's never usually anything to do with me or Violet. It's never usually anything to do with the person who's doing it. You're always doing it for some other reason other than yourself, right? You're doing it for the lifestyle that it affords you to be able to travel, for your kids, for something else. If it's only ever about you, it becomes a little bit stale. I find that if I'm doing it for like coming here, and hopefully, we have offered you some information that you find helpful. If you have questions, I'd be happy to answer them. But this has worked for us, and it would certainly work for everybody sitting in this room. And it may already be working for people sitting in this room. You may be able to change some things, or whatever, or you've heard something, and I think that in itself is also gratifying for me.
Great. Guys, thank you for coming. There's a question at the back there.
I would wait to ask you after, but I have 2 questions that I wanted to answer on camera for.
Okay.
Okay. So
Medium, shirt size. Oh, sorry. I thought I asked him what shirt size.
It's going to have a picture of me on it.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so you have a farm, you're growing it, you're getting some success.
Yep.
And you can now, have a larger budget.
Yep.
If you had to choose, would you choose to increase the size of the farm first, or would you increase the amount that you touch?
Okay, so that's a good question. So for us, we're already at the max of the farm area, right? There's like 5,800 houses.
Yeah.
And we do some in Old English Lane. So then I would have to be, let's say, farming another area.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it. I'm 60. I'm not.
Did you start with the whole 5,800?
No. We had we didn't have a lot of money. So we started with a smaller area and just did lots of stuff. And then tried to do all the free stuff. Like I got the last 53 houses that Valemont built. So we got all the listings, obviously at a discount, but I had all my signs out. And then they hired Violet at the sales center. And if anything sold, whether she was involved in it or not, they paid her $700 cash.
Okay, the last question I have
Okay.
is, let's say that I bet against you, and I don't think you could duplicate this again.
Yes.
And you decide to take me up on that bet.
Yes.
You're going to start a brand new farm area.
Yes.
From scratch.
Yes. It would take me less than it took me this time. Way less.
So do you have a criteria that you would use in choosing your next?
Yeah, so I would look for relatively high turnover. Like, so for me, for now, I would look for maybe an older population, because I like working with seniors, right? So you kind of work with who you want to work with. I like them. What we do lends itself to them because they're at a stage in their life they can't do the things that we can do, and they can't do it in 10 days. So whenever I pitch this idea, they're like, oh, okay, so you'll do, I said, yeah. And we have criteria. I mean, we're not paying for everything. We pay for some, and then we have a system in place. I would say those two things, and something I'm familiar with that I'd like to, I would like to work in. I wouldn't work in Brampton. I don't live in Brampton. I don't like how business is done in Brampton. It doesn't attract. Even when I get a listing there, I just don't like it. I just don't like the vibe. It just, I don't like the energy. It doesn't bode well with how I think. So I wouldn't pick that. I like Oakville. I wouldn't be bothered by all these big agents because you can easily work your way in as long as you believe it, right? Because you have to believe it before you see it, because you have to imagine it and see it and feel it. I'm not intimidated by anybody. No one. You have to have really good self-talk, right? I'm going to leave you with one little story. Nothing to do with golf, or to do with real estate. It's got to do with golf. So my son used to play at this academy in Orlando, and they had tournaments and stuff like that. And this guy Tom Jackson was following this kid. I don't remember his name. And after the tournament, I don't think he played that well. Didn't play poorly, but he didn't play great. Kid comes up to Tom Jackson and says, so what do you think, coach? He goes, what do I think? Get angry a lot. I don't even know why you play golf. You're just it's literally, I watch you play and I see all these things, and this kid, his chin started to quiver. And he goes, are you upset? And he goes, yeah. He goes, why are you upset? He goes, I can't believe you would say that to me. Because I didn't say that to you. You said that to you. I was following you around. This is the shit that you were saying to yourself. How do you fucking think that you're going to play good golf if that's how you think about yourself? Now, when someone else says it, it sounds terrible, right? You're upset by it. You don't like it because it doesn't make any sense. Be very careful how you talk about things to yourself, because you're listening. And so I would say, I would take time to yourself, right? Don't talk those, say bad things to yourself, like, oh, I'm an idiot, or, and then someone says, Al, you said you're an idiot. Oh, I'm just kidding. Your subconscious mind doesn't know you're kidding. You keep saying it, it's just going to find ways to agree with the fact that you're an idiot.
Are you saying I'm an idiot?
You're not an idiot. You do have a learning disability. but we all liked you for it. You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I know it's not real estate, but I think it's important that I just threw that out there. It just came into my head, and it'd be one I would say is really high.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, everybody.
Sorry.
Yes.
I think this is so important. It's not something that I implement or we implement really at all.
Yes.
You said if you started it, now you'd be able to implement it and have success from it faster.
Yes.
What things would you do differently or add, kind of aside, in addition just to the fly?
Yeah, because because I think when we first started it, we weren't as consistent, right? So I would say you have to be consistent, right? Because, if you stop watering tomato plants after 7 months because they're just kind of coming out, you don't know that they're literally a week or 2 weeks away from actually seeing them. So I think stopping is usually one that or changing. That's not working well in this area, I'm just going to go to another area. Now you're doing it all over again. So I think at the beginning, pick the area, do your research. do your positives and negatives, and then once you've arrived at that area, then I would implement like, okay, do we have branding? Yes, we do. Do we have like really cool business cards? Not cheapy ones, like nice ones, like nice laminated or whatever it may be. Is your postcards nice? Is your website good? Is it all congruent? Does it all match together? Are your signs similar to everything else? Are they in good condition, or they're wrecked because you can't afford new signs? Change them, because it all has to be the same, right? It all has to. So I would say that, and then I would just implement it. And you can put out a flyer that says, we just sold this house, right? Like Royal LePage or whatever, we just sold this house, because you're not saying you sold it. I see it all the time. I certainly can do it online.
Sure.
Because I had a listing, this guy sold it for me, and then it's closed, decent guy, and I'm on Instagram, I'm like, hey, fuck, that's our listing. But he didn't say it in a way that, he just said he had the buyer. So there's all kinds of ways, even if you're not busy, to put out things, right? To, I guess change your energy, change your vibration. So consistency for sure, really, really good quality stuff for sure. All has to be the same. Signs, website, business cards, everything else that you do, if you implement that, and if you give yourself, a year or two, plus you're in your farm area, you're going to the open houses, you're going to anything that you can. You go to the school, is there a fall fair, a Christmas fair, a spring fair? I'd like to get involved. They organize it, you show up, cost you a bit of money, you stand there, you meet some people, you have your little booth set up. We did that for 25 years.
Okay. That's great, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Awesome.
Thank you.